Good afternoon, all. I hope this finds you well. I am welcoming Gavin Bradley today, who is the CEO and founder of sitstand.com. Hi, Jenning, Suze, hello, how are you? Charlotte, lots of you coming to join us. That's great. We're going to have Gavin in just a mo. And it's going to be pretty timely, given the news, certainly across the UK right now. This morning I was listening to Nick Ferrari, and so yeah, there were three key things. One was the war on obesity. The second was working from home and getting everybody back to the office. Gavin, welcome. I just did a lovely name drop for you. This is the gentleman I was describing. He is, once again, the CEO and founder of sitstand.com, and certainly an activist in the sit stand campaign, if I can call it that. Welcome to everybody who's joined us, and of course those that will be watching later. Warm welcome. Now, as ever, we're going to dive straight in because we keep this to a very punchy sort of 15 minutes. But is all good at your end, Gavin?
All is good, Annie. All is
marvelous,
good.
marvelous. So, diving straight in, Gavin, please tell us in a nutshell. Tell us what sitstand.com is and why you feel you play such a valuable part in the war against obesity.
Okay, well, thanks first of all for having me on.
Pleasure.
Very important subject. We're very passionate in terms of reducing sitting time at sitstand.com. All our solutions are designed, we call them wellness solutions, designed to help you sit less and move more. We sit too much. And we're all passionate believers of how do we make our office time, particularly where we sit the most, more enjoyable and more healthy, indeed more productive.
So, and isn't this, sorry, go ahead.
So we've designed, over the last 5 years, we've designed a whole array of affordable solutions that really help people in their various, with their various abilities and workplaces and budgets to join the workplace revolution, effectively. And
isn't this a golden time for you? In terms of the focus, and you weren't quite online when I was talking earlier, just about the topicality of our discussion, given so many people working from home and that reduced activity related to that, and that decree for everybody to come back to the office alongside the conversation on obesity.
Well, a golden time, I hate to kind of use that word, if I'm honest. I think for 20 years there's been a time bomb ticking about obesity and inactivity, and we've been very focused on tackling on that subject. Yes, I would call the time now tsunami more than golden, because I think the whole thing is now taking on a whole new momentum. As we work from home, people are more empowered to actually make those changes. Yeah. Some companies are helping assist that and fund that. But others have lost a lot of activity in their day, commuting to work, so the whole sitting problem has become even worse.
And that's actually something that feels underreported. That there is a lot of discussion about the convenience of working from home, that it's better in so many ways, but actually that those steps that we've lost from walking to the train, walking from the train to the office, walking around perhaps at lunchtime in a break, that sort of thing, has actually become lost. Do you have any relevant statistics that map to that?
Well, it's all obviously at this stage, anecdotal. No one's actually measured the loss of steps. But as you just said, basically the average person who works in office and commutes with public transport, you're talking about 5,000 steps a day. It's because it's all very incidental. It all adds up from getting to the bus, from getting to the next tube, and walking to the office, going up the stairs, around the lift, and around the office during that day, and then doing all the way through. So there's a lot of steps in there that have been cut out of people's day.
And has COVID-19 accelerated the demand for sit-standing desks?
Yeah, we have more than doubled. In our sales the last 4 months, it's just grown exponentially, far more than anyone could have imagined. And we've been very fortunate, but we've planned for growth. We've been growing very strongly anyway, but certainly the COVID effect has doubled that growth. Yes.
Wow. And are these desks for at home working? I'm guessing a lot of them must be.
We have everything. Our products start from £150 and work all the way up, to more executive solutions. So we have over 30 solutions. And I'm actually working with you currently from one of them, which is our desk bike.
Aha! We're going to get a little preview here, I think. Oh, no, what's happened? That hasn't gone perhaps to plan. Are we getting you back, Gavin? I'll just fill in a little bit. I lost you for a moment there, Gavin. And once again, sadly, there was compelling evidence in a 2016 study that showed standing desk actually double productivity. No worries. I was just referring to that evidence in the 2016 study that showed that productivity was doubled by adding in a couple of hours of standing, whilst at work. And sorry, go ahead.
Did you see? I'm sorry about that. I think that's, there's various research. I think in fairness, one has to sort of use around a 15 to 20% increase in productivity as a because I think if I don't want to over inflate some numbers. There's so much research, and sometimes it's not quite presented in a much evidence-based way. And I think what we look for here is depending on the role you do. So phone calls, people who work in sales, they're much more effective closing deals if they're standing. When you're doing more written, intense writing, you're better sitting. But if you're trying to go through your emails and just get through routine work, you're better standing. So depending on the individual, depending on role, I think that it's safe to say the productivity rate's between 15 to 20%. But that's already sizable in a country, UK, which is one of the lowest productivity for office workers in Europe.
And on an individual level, Gavin, I mean, what could individuals hope to see by 6 months of standing every day instead of sitting for 8-10 hours?
And it is really wonderful reading testimonials of our customers, because the word game changer and life changing are used in so many of our reviews. I mean, I think ultimately, when we say about the changing of movement, i.e. from reducing sitting by 2 hours a day and converting that to standing, the calorie burn in that over a year is the equivalent of 10 marathons. So that's
incredibly compelling stat.
Very compelling. And I think basically what people just feel more energized, of course, less back pain, which is a huge issue, and just more likely to get on with things and avoid all those lulls later in the day or lethargy later in the day. So there's a wide range of how it benefits people. I mean, we also say do not overstand, because some people think it's they've got to stand 8 hours a day. No, it's really about mixing it up. Sitting for certain tasks, which again, if you're writing your CV or you're writing a letter, which is very important, you should be sitting. And if you're going through routine work or phones or Zoom calls, you should really be standing.
And the biotechnology advantages we have today will show people almost immediately the difference in what they're doing. I mean, is that an accurate thing to say? They're going to see some sort of difference.
I think we're increasingly going to see more metrics in this area. I think the whole office world is now being reinvented literally as we speak. Every job and every role has been assessed, I think, and the more we can understand about how people operate, particularly at home, obviously, where we think the majority of desk work is going to be going forward, I think this is going to be very interesting.
And given that, and this is a bit of a curveball, but our Prime Minister is being accused of leaning towards nanny state, slightly dramatic, but he's making his a stronger case than he certainly was 6 months ago for a campaign against obesity. Given the compelling information on the contrast between sitting, standing whilst at work, and this simultaneous push to get people back to the offices, can you see some sort of legislation or regulations around offices having X number of standing desks as an option for workers?
If you'd asked me a year ago, I'd have said no, and I wouldn't necessarily support it. I think we have to move this way through evidence. But if you ask me now, in an environment whereby we have to post-COVID rethink everything, because we just cannot afford the tragedies that have been set upon us. So I think ultimately now we're in a situation, if taxes are going to go up for the UK population, we know that, but we now also look at how do we reduce the costs imposed on a health service, and if obesity and underlying health causes are a huge drain on resources, and we know they are, and we can't afford it and we can't sustain it, and certainly our young people can't be expected to pay for
That's
it.
Right.
I think we now have to look at ways of reducing that pent up wave of health issues. So I think we have a health minister who uses a standing desk. We have a
Matt Hancock, really, is that right?
Yes, he's been a long-term proponent of one.
That's really interesting. Is it one of yours?
No, but I could celebrate. I would like. We have
You're
many
celebrity.
In fact, the director of Doctor Who bought one yesterday from us. But we have many celebrities. We even sold to Buckingham Palace. I shouldn't say that.
Wow.
But,
well done.
But anyway, so basically, I would say that if we look at the example in Denmark, where 90% of office workers are given a standing desk. If they work for 2 hours a day, they cannot be expected to sit for more than 2 hours. So I think we're now entering the sphere whereby this is now part of the solution and not an extra, and just considered an extra cost. It
certainly feels like a new spirit and culture between this sort of stuff. I've just come off a call on the personal data economy, trust, integrity, transparency, honesty, and it feels like this all comes into play because all of these things are not only for our personal good, but actually for the greater good of society, country, economy, and and so on. Gavin, if I may, if you were making the case to Matt Hancock, Boris Johnson, Dominic Cummings, God forbid, for legislating to have standing desks in every workplace, what would be the most compelling facts that you would put to them?
Okay, I'd say from first of all, for an employer, because they're going to pay for them, hopefully, the payback in terms of productivity is literally a matter of days. In terms of what the numbers I've just given you, 15 to 20% productivity, you're talking about, within 4 to 6 weeks, these things pay for themselves.
Wow.
Okay. Now, in terms of public health, you actually only need to reduce sitting time by 2 hours a day to have probably a reduction 2% of the mortality rate created by obesity. So the numbers actually are so compelling that it really needs someone to start to look.
Why is it taking us so long? Why is it taking us so long, Gavin?
I wish I knew the answer to that. Now, that would be a golden answer. I think ultimately people are afraid of forcing things on people. I mean, the other thing is people need education. You can lead a horse to water, but if you don't know what it all means, this thing needs to be made clearer to people. And I think, ultimately, we've had a lot of the office furniture industry so far has made all its money from seating. So it's never really pushed the standing desk solution as aggressively as it should have. And so I think, now it's the time that we need to think of the wellness.
Is this the death of the office chair?
I hope it's the reinvention. I think a desk chair should be designed for sitting for minimal periods on it. So that if you start to feel uncomfortable after half an hour, and traditionally they've been designed to make you feel comfortable for as long as possible. So I think we need to change this whole argument. It should be desk first, seat second, and when you are sitting for short, broken up periods. No binge sitting. Binge sitting is the worst thing for our health and productivity.
Absolutely fascinating. Can you just repeat the marathon?
Marathon 2 hours a day. So reduce your sitting by 2 hours a day to standing. I mean, just standing. I mean, obviously anything hovering or fidgeting around that, you've doubled it again. But 2 hours a day is the equivalent of 10 marathons a year in calorie burn.
So compelling. I don't know if you've got anything to top that, but your silver linings, either personally or for the business. What's your silver lining from COVID?
I think we all need to just move more, look at all opportunities to stretch, to do things differently. Think of dead time as time you're waiting for something, just to do a little stretch, a little, nothing compelling, but just don't stay static and always look after yourself. I think you have to, and others, in terms of breaking up your sitting time. Just don't don't take it for granted that when someone tells you to take a seat, that you have to take a seat. Why? If someone tells you to take a cigarette, I wouldn't do that. So, why? Take more control. Take more control.
So standing over sitting, and you have a campaign, don't you? Just quickly.
Yes, we have the Get Britain Standing campaign.
Awesome.
There.
Well, unfortunately, it appears backwards on Instagram.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
But,
so Get Britain Standing.
Get Britain Standing
is that breaks down. You can measure your sitting time and your tip of the day. Very simple, and it breaks down the top 10 sort of risks of prolonged sitting, and all the evidence base if you need it in terms of research papers, and then we run On Your Feet, which is a national day in September, for ways that you and your colleagues and friends can just break, have fun ways, go for walking meetings, go for even walking phone calls, do everything you can to avoid your sitting time.
Fantastic. Gavin, it's been an absolute privilege. Thank you very, very much. Thank you to all of you who have joined us and those that will be listening in later. Thanks a million and see you very soon. Thank you, Gavin.
Cheers, Annie. All the best.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.